Good.
Yeah, I'm just staring at my own face. It's great.
All right. Hey, everyone. It's been a while, but welcome back to Smart Moves. We have moved ourselves onto our own Twitch channel instead of running off my personal Twitch channel. Try to do some things with Smart Moves this year. So here we are in our first ever episode on our own special Smart Moves or Sneaky Moves Twitch channel. So we are, due to having been busy and things like that, we're going to kind of go into this and just run straight into the next expansion, full steam. We've got some news we're going to talk about today pertaining to all that. So we're going to talk about the Year of the Raven, everything going on in Hearthstone, what our plans for the channel are, and we'll go from there. So before we get started, I'll reintroduce ourselves for anybody who's just finding us. I'm Setsuko. I'm a mostly casual Hearthstone player. I play a lot of Wild and a lot of Arena. And I've gotten a 12 win Arena,
Yeah.
which is the thing. And never had the motivation to get to Legendary, so stand in awe of all that. And then I'll let Slicky introduce himself and tell you a little bit about his background with Hearthstone as well.
I started right around Whispers of the Old Gods. So I guess I've been playing for almost exactly 2 years now. Um, Never hit Legend because I suck. No, it's just I don't play meta decks, and I don't commit as much time to winning as I should. But yeah, I'm consistently, like I'm 5 to 10. I'm okay. I'm not bad. And mostly lately, I've been playing a lot of Arena. I'm usually 5 to 6 wins, so it's not bad.
Yep,
And we like to talk about the theoretical side of Hearthstone.
that's right. And make weird decks,
Yeah, make weird decks. We like weird decks.
which is kind of the whole point of this channel. But that being said, for today we're going to talk about some news, starting with the Year of the Raven. So we got the official announcement. We knew it was coming. Ben Bro jumped out there and they put a post out about Year of the Raven. This is going to be the next standard rotation for Hearthstone. And so we're going to talk about, this post and just kind of everything that went with it. So obviously the creature that they choose for the year is just random, I assume. I mean, I don't know. They did Mammoth, and the first expansion last time was Journey to Ungoro. Was there there was a Mammoth in there, wasn't there?
It was called a Mastodon.
Yeah.
Uh,
So maybe we'll get
yeah,
another new Raven card.
I'm trying to think like if you think about it, a Mastodon it lives in tundra, so that's frozen, and it's kind of prehistoric, so that's like a dinosaur. So maybe
And
it's
it
not
has a
random.
candle.
It does not have a candle. I don't guess it really has anything to do with Cobalt.
Uh,
But the rest of the stuff almost kind of makes sense if you really stretch.
yeah. Well, either way, Year of the Raven. We'll have to see if we get a Raven card, right? So
Yeah, we already had a Raven.
yeah, but that was in the Year of the Mammoth. So we got set rotation coming up. So we experienced this last time with Year of the Mammoth, where we had Blackrock Mountain, League of Explorers, and what was the other one? Or two? Were there two?
Grand Tournament, Gnomes.
Yeah, GVG. All that stuff rotated out for Year of the Mammoth. So this is going to be the actual first rotation where everything that is staying is something that was staying with the rotation in, like, it was created with the whole rotation in mind, because they announced these rotations about 2 years ago, around the time you started. So when they rotated the initial set of stuff, They still had sets in like Old Gods and things like that, where those were created and released prior to the actual announcement of Standard as a format. So this is going to be the first rotation where every single card in Standard has been designed and released post Standard format announcement. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out from here on out, because we've kind of gotten rid of the residual. So this time around, we're going to have Mean Streets of Gadgetzan, Whispers of the Old Gods, and One Night in Karazhan are going to be rotating out. So do you have any... Let's which one do you want to talk about first? Just go in order. We'll talk about Whispers of the Old Gods.
Yeah, sure. We can talk about that.
You have any particular cards that you know of off the top of your head that you're like, no, they're leaving?
Honestly, I think Whispers of the Old Gods is my favorite thematically. I thought Knights of the Frozen Throne would be, but Whispers of the Old Gods, like, I like all the aberrated kind of creatures that they had, you know. It was pretty cool. And all of the legendaries in that were, I mean, they weren't all incredibly cool, but, you know, like, people are still running Yashiraj. People aren't really running Cthulhu anymore, but some Fringe decks do. But they're all,
I do.
like, they're all kind of like game changers. All of the old
like
cards.
N'Zoth. I mean,
N'Zoth. Yeah, N'Zoth is still one of the best cards in the game.
so let's I'm gonna pull up some Whispers of the Old Gods here, and just run through and see if there's anything that's really standing out as, you know, this is gonna be going away. Oh no, I'm sad. Druid cards. Oh, Feral Rage. Feral Rage, that's one.
Oh, Fandral? Oh.
Fandrel's gone.
People are gonna crap themselves over that one. That's nasty, man. That's like half of Druid's identity is just gone.
This is let's see. Yeah, so Feral Rage, Marka Yashiraj, I mean, that's a pretty decent card.
Yeah, Dark Arako was always a solid card, but it doesn't see play all that much.
Hunter, Call of the Wild's gone. Freaking Infested Wolf is gone.
Fiery Bat's gone. It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Kabbalist Tome. Wow.
Oh,
That's a big...
yes, that's huge. That is huge.
Thank you. Ragnaros Light Lord, Rallying Blade.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
What?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen those pop up too much.
Dude, Rallying Blade and Steward of Darkshire are two staple cards in the current Paladin decks.
Light in the Darkness. That was always a fun one.
Yeah, it's a good arena pick.
Let's see. Priest, we got Shifting Shade going away, but that kind of fell out a little bit.
Yeah, it only sees play in the quest at this point.
Shadowcaster.
Shadowcaster, that's a big deal.
Sad.
I liked Zeril. It's a good card.
Yeah, he's good. Huckster, Shadow Strike, that's a big deal in Arena.
Oh, that 4-mana 4/4, that's going to be a big deal for Kingsbane Rogue. That's really important.
Oh, what about Shaman Evolve?
Oh, they're
Evolve.
losing the thing from below. That's a big deal.
Yeah, and 4-mana 7/7.
4-mana 7/7. That's the name of that card. Doom. That's a big one. Steward what is his name? Darkshaw Councilman. That's an awesome arena card and standard card.
Warriors are losing Tentacle for art. No. No.
Ravaging Ghoul, I think, is the big one there.
Yeah. And
And
Blood
then
Brave was pretty good for Taunt Warrior sometimes.
Yeah. And then, of course, all of the old gods are really good.
Deathwing Dragon Lord.
Oh, I'm going to be losing my Blood of the Ancient one. That's so sad.
Oh, yep. There goes that big druid combo.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else? What else? I don't know. I'm not impressed by most of these neutrals
Yeah, those are
here.
just
There's,
Cthulhu cards
there's a lot
mostly.
of Cthulhu neutrals. All right, so yeah, there's a few things in there that are going away.
Hmm.
All right, so what about One Night in Karazhan?
One Night
Anything?
in Karazhan is the most used cards, and they're all gone. Firelands Portal is the most popular arena card. Maelstrom Portal is the most popular shaman card.
What do we got?
Uh,
Raven,
Medivh,
Raven for Token Druid.
yeah. The Huntress is one of
Okay.
the most powerful hunter cards. So is the 2-mana 1/1.
Yep. Grandma's
Babbling
gone
Book,
away. Man.
yeah. All of these except for Paladin pretty much are really important staple cards of all the classes. Ethereal Peddler wasn't that big, nor was the Fork, but
Yeah. Swashbuckler.
Swashbuckler's huge.
Maelstrom
Um,
Portal.
you're basically going to be losing all of the discard mechanics. Those are all going to go.
Man. Medivh.
Medivh, Curator, Barnes,
Barnes.
those are all huge. Arcane Giants, big. Um, yeah, a lot of these are really important cards. The color purple is just not going to be seen that much anymore in the game. So,
All right. I mean, obviously, everybody knows freaking Gadgetzan. All the Jades are gone.
Jades are gone. That is
man.
kind of sad for my Jade Rogue.
Kazakus is gone.
Kazakis, Raza's gone.
Oh, man. Cabal Courier. That's a pretty
And
big deal.
that is one thing I am really kind of sad about with this thing is the tri-class cards. Those were cool to me. The
Yeah,
ones where
I
you could
like
discover
those.
a card from from your class. That was always a really cool pickup.
I hope
So
they do something like that in the future.
yeah, those were really fun.
So obviously all the Jade, Mark of the Lotus, that's pretty huge loss for Token Druid.
Yeah, they're gonna have to come up with a new archetype.
Alley Cat. It's annoying as hell on turn
Oh,
one.
Volcanic Potion. It's one of the most important early game removal cards for Mage.
Yep. Burn
Uh,
Bristle.
All the hand buff stuff is now gone.
Burn Bristle's gone. Dragonfire Potion.
Dragon Fire Potion. Dragon Operative.
Oh yeah, he's gone too. Man, those
That's
are
great.
those are some mean freaking cards. Ah, my Ninja Panda's gone. No. Man, Counterfeit Coin. That's an activator for Rogues gone.
Devolve is gone.
Yep.
So there goes the ability to fight against Void Lords.
Yep.
Abyssal Enforcer. Pretty much all of the Warlock's arena cards are gone.
Sleep with the Fishes.
Sleep of the Fishes. Yeah. Noggin Fogger. That was a fun one.
At least the neutral, the neutral legendaries. Freaking Patches is gone, but he already got his nerf. So
Yeah, he's already gone.
what else we got? Oh, Dirty Rat, man, Dirty Rat's gone.
That's too bad. Dirty Rat's an important card.
That makes me sad.
Red Mana Worm, one of my favorite cards to play around with. Mistress of Mixtures, really important early game card.
All right, so there's a lot of stuff going on with the set rotation there. It's going to be a really different game come the next expansion. I think
It is.
I think we could definitely agree with that. Once these cards rotate, you'll be able to craft them, though, including the stuff from Karazhan if you don't have it already, because you can play Wild. So these are interesting changes, but I mostly play Wild, so for me it's like, what's it really going to do? Probably not a lot.
I'll have to change up some of my decks. Like I said, I'm playing Jade Rogue a lot right now. Spell Hunter, I don't think Spell Hunter is going to take that big of a hit because they kind of created that archetype now. So I don't think that'll be too bad.
Yep. All right, so we know how this works. Just to cover it, So standard on the next rotation. When the next expansion comes out, the year will rotate. It'll be the year of the Raven. You'll be able to use build standard decks using basic, classic, Journey to Ungoro, Knights of the Frozen Throne, and Kobolds and Catacombs cards, plus the expansions that come out this year. And since that will rotate with the first expansion that comes out this year, you'll also be able to use those cards. So let's talk about this picture here.
The super duper picture.
So So this is the 2018 preview. I'm gonna pop back here because there we go. So last year they gave us a similar thing where they showed 3 little clues for the expansions that were going to be coming out during 2017. They've done the same thing here in 2018. There's a lot of speculation going on, a lot of it on Reddit and the various places. So I know you aren't very familiar with World of Warcraft, right? So you probably look at this and go, I have no idea.
think the third one's pirates or something. People are saying it's like ogres or something, but it looks kind of like a washed up, beaten up piece of wood. So maybe it's water themed.
I think it's very. I gotta go with the troll shaman kind of theme because, these colors are reminiscent of that. Plus that kind of like washed out wood color, and this looks like the tribal face paint stuff that you can put on your characters when you're creating them. So I'm not sure about the particular, gym thing that's going on here, but it's hard to tell what's going on in there. Is it seaweed? What is it? But it may not be relevant, but WoW has a new expansion coming out around September, and this should be the December expansion. And the WoW expansion is very nautical. It's all about ships and navies and things like that. So, and one of the big factions that's involved in that. So what they're doing is they're saying, oh, here's the Horde, here's the Alliance, and they're on 2 separate continents doing 2 different things, and they get involved with these 2 really important factions. One of the factions is the Zandalari Trolls, who have their own island nation, have a big navy, all this kind of stuff. I don't know. Really, the thing that gets me here is that the stuff on the bottom where it looks kind of like some war paint, face paint. So I think the one in the middle is super easy. I mean, have you heard about this one?
People are saying ethereals?
Yeah, there's a section in Outland, an entire zone that is purple. Outland is a different planet that you can go to in World of Warcraft. It has an entire zone that looks like this. It's purple. It has a place called Tempest Keep. It's all purple and pink and, ethereal people. I mean, this one just seems like a dead giveaway to me.
Can it not be the Twisting Nether? Isn't that purple?
It could be, but I mean, these colors are just like, let me see. I'll do this. I'll show you some screenshots. Like these are the colors that come up for Tempest Keep.
Ooh.
Like it's all this pink purple color.
So is it like a magical planet, or are there aliens, or is it just ethereals?
So it's mostly ethereals. The main guy who's behind it is Kael'thas Sunstrider, who is a blood elf, which is one of the races you can be in Tempest Keep. But let's see. Let's look for some large images. So yeah, like this is one of the pictures. No, I don't want YouTube. Oh goodness. There we go. That's no. Did it again. Okay, I don't want YouTube, but this is one of the. Here we go. This is one of the screenshots of what the area looks like. I mean, swirly. Here's you got your swirly pink stuff here. You
Oh, I
know,
love
your circles, all that kind of stuff. And
circles and swirlies.
if
What
you
does this place not have?
and this ring with the little loops on it, those are like ethereal gates. So yeah, this one just seems super obvious. Now the first one, I know some people are saying Emerald Dream, but I personally don't think the colors match up. Like the Emerald Dream is more
Emerald.
vibrant.
Yeah, it does look more like aqua than emerald.
But I mean, if you look at a picture like this is a gateway to the Emerald Dream, and it looks a heck of a lot like that one.
It does.
So, and you wanted to know what the Emerald Dream was, right?
It's Ysera's domain. That's all I know.
Yes. So the short version is there is Azeroth, which is the world where Warcraft takes place, and the Emerald Dream is essentially a dream world version of Azeroth, and like druids can go to sleep and go there, and what happens in the Emerald Dream, what happens on Azeroth can affect each other. But yeah, it's kind of like the, you know, if you want to put it in layman terms, kind of like the spirit realm copy of, you know, the main place where World of Warcraft takes place. And it's very druidy. It's Ysera is, she's the leader of the Green Dragon Flight, and they're in charge of the Emerald Dream. So there's lots of green, lots of plants, stuff.
So
like
is
that.
Ysera a good dragon?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know there were good dragons.
Well, most of the dragons are good initially. Deathwing is the one who went bad pretty quickly. So yeah. Well, we'll find out what this one is soon enough. I expect the announcement for this expansion to come within the next few weeks, because traditionally the first expansion has launched in April. Usually like mid-April. So
I thought they said they were going to start doing more expansions, like 4 year. Is it 3?
no, it's 3. 3 is more because what they were doing before was they were kind of alternating expansion, adventure. So that's why year before last we had Old Gods, Mean Streets of Gadgetzan, which were expansions, and then we had One Night in Karazhan, which was an adventure. So they said that they would change it and they were going to release more expansions, 3, because they were no longer going to be doing adventures. So
Okay.
So we should get one around April, and then we'll get one around like September or August or July, you know, that quarter, and then we'll get the one in December like usual.
Okay.
So going on from there, we've got the Hall of Fame. So we have a couple of cards going into the Hall of Fame with the Year of the Raven rotation. 3 of them, to be precise. We have Ice Block. What do you think?
I don't know. The thing I don't like about Ice Block, really, is the same thing I don't like about Ice Barrier. It's not a secret you can play around.
Right.
That drives me crazy. Like most secrets, you know, it's interactive. You have some way to deal with it or not deal with it, but just doing so much damage that you actually kill them before they can kill you isn't really interacting. Ice Barrier is the same way. Like, you have to hit them in the face at some point. You can't not hit them in the face unless you're just playing spells. I don't like these secrets where they can just put it up and then it's just something you have to deal with. It doesn't make any sense. Like, I feel like that's not the point of secrets. And I can understand from, like, I feel like Evasion, the rogue card, is a much better version of what Ice Block is, because you can play around that. To an extent.
With Ice Block, you can sort of play around it, but you have to get really lucky because you have to have something that will deal damage to them on their turn instead of popping Ice Block. and
Right.
that's way harder to come by.
Or you
Um,
specifically have to tech for it, and if it's like one out of your five matchups is going to have ice block, then you're wasting a tech card in or a card slot in like your four other matchups, which is just terrible.
yeah, yeah, and I like what Crip said. He said that basically having one or two ice blocks isn't too much of a problem, but when you can keep discovering more and more ice blocks from random spell generators, where now, in one game you're having to face like 3, 4, 5 ice blocks, like it gets way out of hand. And I definitely agree with that, but I do think that it was time for ice block to go. And I think a lot of the community was feeling that because it just there's so many decks that are built around it, and like you said, it's really hard to play around. Um, like
Like, are you going to
ice
fatigue
block.
them?
Yeah, ice block is there, and it doesn't matter how much damage you can do. It doesn't matter if they have taunts, they don't have taunts, and I think ice block coupled with all the ways that Mage has to freeze your entire board over and over again. Like the combination of those two just really, really annoyed me playing against Mage. So
And also, it was a secret that for any of their, like, if you have a spell abilities, it was just an auto trigger. And that also seems unfair. Like, yeah, they didn't really use those that much, but it just seems unfair that you can just do that and that somebody else can't stop you from doing it.
yeah.
Like, Medivh's Valet.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So the next one is Cold Light Oracle. And I didn't see this one coming, but I can understand why it's moving to the Hall of Fame. Uh, you know, draw two cards. I mean, I feel like this is a card that if you ever want Mill to work, like you need this card in there. So I'm kind of sad that, potential Mill decks of the future in Standard anyway are losing Cold Light Oracle. But for super aggressive decks or, decks that just want to, um, basically refill hands and they don't care what your opponent's doing, I'm really glad that they are losing this card.
I don't I don't like Cold Light Oracle because I like the idea that there's a different way to play Hearthstone. That you can do mill instead of just trying to, control or go aggro or, whatever. I like that aspect, but because it was such an outlier deck, whether or not you won that matchup wasn't like whether or not you teched for mill. It was just kind of a flip of a coin. Are you an aggro deck or are you a control deck? And if you're a control deck, most of the time you're going to lose against a mill deck. If you're an aggro deck, most of the time you're going to win. And I didn't like that it was a deck that you weren't. It was kind of like playing against Quest Rogue. It's like you either you finish what you're doing before they do what they do, or you just lose.
Yeah.
And I never liked that aspect of it.
Yeah, and there's also, with a lot of the mill decks, I mean, they revolved around bouncing Cold Light Oracle or getting more copies of it and everything. And, a lot of it trying to mill people depended on whether you could do that reliably. And then there was also just the aspect of, letting someone else draw cards. Like, you might just be giving them the ways to beat you. And I prefer the kind of mill that you can do in other card games where you're literally just what's the Warlock card? I can't remember the name of it, but it just destroys the top card of your opponent's deck.
Oh, Gnome Feratu.
Yeah, and I prefer that kind of mill where you're designing the deck and you're like, no, this is my goal. I don't have to worry about how many cards they have and can I burn a couple with Cold Light Oracles. It's like, nope, that's what I'm doing. I'm milling your cards and you better figure it out.
Well, if it was a really common archetype, I don't think I would have that much of a problem with it, but it's not. So when you run into it, you just have to try and do something to deal with it. Your own game plan goes out the window. The way you play is then entirely dictated by your opponent's deck, and I don't like that aspect of it.
Kind of like running into a Death Knight in Arena when they were around. Or you just go,
Right.
oh, I guess I'm in aggro deck now. So, All right, and then the last card that is getting moved to the Hall of Fame is actually Molten Giant, and along with moving to the Hall of Fame, they changed the mana cost back to 20. So, did you play against traditional Handlock very much?
I did.
Where they would drop 2 of these and, what is it, Protector of... Ardent Protector?
Yes.
Or, what's it called? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The +1/+1 taunt.
Well, yeah, that was Defender of Argus, and then I think there was Righteous. No, it wasn't Righteous Defender. It was the 2-mana 2/3. Did the same thing without the +1/+1.
Yes. So they would drop that stuff.
And then I think they would normally play like Draxus on the next turn or something.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I played against one of those decks, and you know, when I saw that they were reverting this, I liked that they were doing that, because I think there are some cards that they nerfed in the past that should be unnerfed at this point, because the power creep with every other expansion has just gone up so much that those cards in their unnerfed form, you know, aren't even that big of a problem anymore. And when I saw that they did this and they were moving it to the Hall of Fame, I just kind of went, I mean, aren't there Warlock decks that are way better than traditional Handlock now? You know, are people really going to play? I mean, maybe there's a new version of Handlock that's going to appear now that, you know, Molten Giant is back to 20 mana. But as far as the old one goes, and the people who were like, I want to play old Handlock, it's like, I think there are better Warlock decks now.
Yeah, I think Firebat said something about that on the last Omnistone video, and it was a really good point. And that's like, they're just giant decks now. It doesn't really matter what class you play, because you can already just do a, like, I'm going to drop 6 giants at a time thing. So reverting Molten Giant, it's like I don't know, like, it's like you're playing an RPG and you really want this weapon at level 10, but you can never get your hands on it. Then you get to level 60 and you got way better weapons, and they're like, oh, here's that weapon you wanted at level 10.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's not really a big deal anymore.
Yeah. And that was generally my impression with Molten Giant. It was just okay. I mean,
I like that they're unnerfing it. I think that's a cool idea.
I have to think that them unnerfing it and also putting it in the Hall of Fame has to do with something that's going to be coming out this year that would have made it broken. Because as it is, you know, I don't know.
Well, I think part of it has to do with the heal. Warlocks have gotten so much heal now that the Molten Giant, if it ever comes back into popular play, could be really dangerous. In the sense, Hooked, I think it's Hooked Reaver, is essentially a 4-mana 7/7 with Taunt if you have below a certain health threshold. You add Molten Giant to that, and then you just throw your health all the way back up to 30. That's pretty rough, you know? If they add any more health support, that could get really dangerous.
Yeah. I hope they don't add more Warlock life gain in the next expansion. Oh, man. So also coming with Year of the Raven, we've got some quicker quests. So this is exciting news for me anyway. So a lot of the quests have had their requirements reduced. For example, instead of playing 20 minions that cost 5 or more, you now only have to play 12. In addition, the quest that gave you 40 gold will now give you 50 gold, which I think makes a hell of a lot more sense. Because I always looked at 40 gold and just went, are you kidding me? Like, why 50 makes more sense. I do 2 of these, I can buy a pack. Or I do 3 of these, I can enter an arena. You know, like, just keeping it to the 50 makes sense. They're still going to have the 60 gold quests and stuff, which is another kind of odd number. But I was kind of surprised that they buffed the 40 gold to 50 gold, but then left the 60 gold.
Well, a lot of people have been clamoring about, oh, you don't add any sort of support for people, you know, why is it that we have to win 3 games to get 10 gold? Why is such and such and such? Can it be like 20 gold, or can you make it like 1 game or something? A lot of people wanted it changed to something, and I'm glad they're doing something to help out free-to-play players. I'd say I'm like 90% free-to-play, 95 probably. Like, my cards, 95% of my cards probably come from free-to-play sources. Yeah, I'm super psyched. The one quest that always drove me crazy was Murlocalypse. Do you remember that one?
I don't think so.
It's like play 100 Murlocs and you get, or it might have been like 75. Think about how many games you would have to play that many Murlocs, and the reward is a 100 gold. It's 100 gold, but it was so tedious that I was like, a lot of times I would just change it because I didn't want to try and play 8 games playing 75 Murlocs. It's really annoying. So I really hope that drops down to like 50 or 10 or 5 or 1 because that was terrible. I hated it.
Well, I just
So,
think it's nice being able to, get your quest done faster and then play the decks that you want to play. Because I would just sit there with quests in my queue and roll them because like I didn't have a shaman deck I wanted to play, and it pops up, hey, play 2 games with shaman or some other class you hate, and I'd be like, no thanks, and then I'd get, oh, play 5 games with shaman, and I'm like, are you kidding me? So just the reduction, being able to say, okay, hey, instead of doing 5 games, maybe I have to do 3 or something to get 60 gold, is a huge improvement for me. And I think it'll be a lot easier to just log in. If you've got like 20 minutes, bang out a quest real quick and just move on with your day, play the stuff you want to play, or go get other stuff done.
yeah,
So,
on the rare occasion that all of my quest slots are filled and I don't have time to play, it's really annoying when I get on and it's like, okay, well, I can throw away 60 gold and do the 40 gold quest, or I can just throw away my quest for tomorrow and not do any of these.
yeah.
You know?
So
So,
overall, I mean, less effort for more reward. I think everybody's pretty fine with that.
yeah. And also, that has to kind of ties in with their new ranked thing where you only have to win 5 games, which wasn't really a big deal before because everybody would get to rank 20 every month pretty much. But for those really casual players, it's now a little bit easier to get your ranked chest. So does that mean that there's not any difference between like which stash you get now, or is there?
Oh, it should still be the same, which we'll cover it. So, in-game tournaments. I know
In game?
a lot of people have been asking for this. Personally, I've run several fireside gatherings and always had to use some, third-party website or something to organize and run the tournaments, which was honestly it was annoying. And so having this in-game tournaments system is, all around, I think it's pretty good. I will say that, it says you can create a custom tournament and invite your friends, includes matchmaking, checking decks, that kind of stuff. I think the big thing for this is going to be how many formats are they going to have it start, and how many players does each tournament support?
I think they're going to have a lot of formats.
Swiss tournament is there in the image, and Swiss is pretty much what I would always use
Are you sure?
in my
Oh, it
fireside
does say.
gatherings.
Yeah, but it's also got Last Hero Standing, which I guess is a sub format. But I've heard that that's kind of a rare thing.
Yeah.
So
Well, Swiss tournaments in general, those I use them at my fireside gatherings because it's not professionals playing there, and everybody gets to play the same amount of games. And
is it like a round robin?
it's basically if you set the number of games you're gonna play like 7, and it'll filter people to play against people who have like higher win ratios. So ultimately, the people that are playing in round 7 against each other are the 2 people who have performed the best, and you get your winner off of that. So
Okay.
it's pretty good. So we'll have to
Yeah.
see the formats and all that kind of good stuff, and maybe when this comes out, we'll be able to do a Smart Moves tournament.
Yeah, I think they mentioned it. Actually, I don't remember who mentioned it, but somebody said at some point in time, like every time you want to watch a tournament, like on Twitch or whatever, there's always some weird like hatchet job where they've done all these different overlays so they can get the cards up showing you what and what. And maybe with this tournament mode, since obviously if you're doing a tournament mode, you're planning on having spectators, maybe it'll fix that to where a third party, like maybe there'll be like a spectate tournament thing as opposed to just a spectate button.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see both players' hands. That'd be really handy. And a lot of this probably has to do with, it's been coming to light a lot more that players in like really big deal tournaments are not submitting the right deck lists. And so this locks in the deck lists and it does the whole nine. So that's pretty cool.
Yep. All right. And we're getting our first alternate druid hero, Lunara. So I thought
Sexy.
this was an interesting choice. She's a character in Heroes of the Storm, and she's all about plants and poison. And
Is she really fast with her four legs?
yep, yeah. By default, she just goes faster than other people.
Cool.
So it's interesting. I'll be excited to change it up from Malfurion. So all you got to do to get her is the same thing you did to get Maeve or Maiev, whatever. Play 10 games once the Year of the Raven rotates in. Also keep in mind that if you don't have Maiev by now, she'll be going away when the Year of the Raven rotates in. So play your 10 games.
I still want Nimsy. You know, it took me a long time to realize that her last name was Necrofizzle, as in a necrophile. So that's pretty great.
Yeah, I passed up on a Fireside Gathering this past Sunday where I could have gotten her, but I'll get her eventually. So
I'm thinking about starting some at my local comic book shop, but I feel like I want to establish a rapport with the comic book guy first before I just move in there.
say, hey
Like me.
man, can I steal your Wi-Fi?
Yeah, like they do Magic tournaments every Friday, so maybe I can do a Hearthstone thing same night or a different night. I don't know.
And then finally they chucked in a little, hey, we like Fireside Gatherings. We're going to keep supporting them. Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, only time I went to a Fireside Gathering, the rewards were dick. Like, it was like a little glass jar full of blue sand, like dust. I don't know what the deal was with that. And I know that they like give tavern keepers or whatever prizes and stuff to give to people, so that really frustrates. Yeah.
Sometimes you have to get selected for it. I've done several Fireside Gatherings. I did 3 or 4 official ones that, went on the Blizzard launcher and that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And 2 of them I got prize packs for.
That's pretty cool.
So, yeah.
They gave you that stuff for free?
Yeah, but you gotta get selected for it, and then it has to ship to you on time. The second time that I got the prize pack stuff, it showed up like a week after my actual Fireside Gathering, so I didn't get to hand anything out. So I have a chunk of Fireside Gathering stuff that I'm gonna use at the next one. So, if they send me something for that one, cool. If not, I've got prizes from the last time when it showed up late. So. All right, let's move on and talk about, we're going to do the Community Choice Awards. We're just going to go through these questions. This is a survey put out by Hearthpoem, but I thought it would be fun for us to, give our answers. So, what do we think? Setsuko versus Slicky here. Best expansion from Year of the Mammoth. Journey to Un'Goro, Knights of the Frozen Throne, Kobolds, and Catacombs. And let's go with what do you think was the best expansion like for the game, and what was your like personal favorite?
Yeah, there's so many different facets to this. You can't, I don't know, like which one had the best cards, which one had the best theme, which one had the best like
just whatever you want to go with.
Okay, well, I think that obviously for like best total package would probably be Kobolds and Catacombs because the dungeon run was a huge success.
Oh yeah.
Everybody was doing dungeon runs. I think.
What was your
Journey to
least?
Un'Goro
What was
was
your
kind of a
least
bust,
favorite?
wasn't it?
What was your
I guess
least
Journey
favorite?
to Un'Goro.
See,
Like,
my least favorite actually was Knights of the Frozen Throne, bar Death Knights. I thought Death Knights were freaking awesome. I love the change that they brought to the game. The like giving you a new hero power. Everything about Death Knights I thought was super awesome. Everything else with the expansion, except for maybe the solo content with the Lich King, just didn't it just didn't hit it for me. Like I was expecting the cards to be a lot different, especially the neutral stuff, and ultimately it was just a really it kind of fell flat for me. I think.
yeah, I think the Death Knights alone would raise that above Journey to Ungoro for me. When I look back on Journey to Ungoro, it was a really neutral expansion. Like it wasn't that there wasn't that much exciting stuff about it. It had dinosaurs. That was supposed to be one of the big things
Quests,
about it.
which
It had
bombed.
quests. Yeah, and almost nobody played a quest unless it was incredibly overpowered.
Yeah.
Unlike Knights of the Frozen Throne, where everybody played Death Knights because they were all good. And even if like you didn't really need it, it was still fun to have. But playing a quest meant you had to play a certain deck, and unless it was overpowered, nobody would play it.
Yeah.
So I thought the quests were. I just didn't think it was good. Adapt was kind of I think it's a really powerful mechanic, but nobody plays it. So, um, Kobolds and Catacombs, I guess, would have to be my favorite because, like you and I talked about, everybody called it the meme expansion, but the cards are the most interesting, I think. And a lot of people they don't like the interesting cards. They like overpowered cards, but I think that it's like I've made a ton of fun decks based off of Kobolds and Catacombs cards.
Yeah, I think, when Journey to Ungoro first came out and we didn't know about the other two expansions, it was like, oh, quests, this is really cool. And me especially, I was like, Taunt Warrior is going to be a thing. And like, I will love Journey to Ungoro just for the Taunt Warrior quest, because I'd been trying to make that work way before that quest ever came out. And when it came out, I was like, finally. And it's really just gotten better over time. So I enjoy that. But, then they drop Knights of the Frozen Throne on us, and even though I feel like for me personally it fell kind of flat, like Death Knights were just whoa, screw quests, like Death Knights, this is what's up, and
Yeah,
just
it's like
them,
why would you not have a Death Knight in your deck if you could fit it in there?
yeah, just them creating heroes as a card type. Whether or not those Death Knights turned out to be great, just the fact that heroes are now a card type that we can see again in the future is
Do you think that'll
huge to
happen?
me. Oh yeah, yeah. It might not be this year, but I definitely think it could happen. The only weird thing for me about that is like, is it? I don't know that it's the type of card where they would or could introduce one for a class without giving every class one of them. Kind of like a legendary. Like every class has to have a legendary. Well, if you're gonna put out a hero, does every class have to have a hero card in that expansion, or can you do one here, do one there? Um,
Well,
but
somebody
then,
talked about that when the quest came out, and I thought it was a really good idea. But to have one card that would act as the quest for all the different classes and it would basically just change into that class's quest, so you didn't have to try to get all these different quests. And then, like, it would save people money, and then you could just try and get all the support cards, the legendaries, or whatever you needed to support the quest, and that would be kind of your card building thing instead of having every different class have their own separate quest.
well, and I don't even mean from the collection perspective. I mean, like, if this next expansion coming out is the Emerald Dream, could within this expansion could they give us a new Druid hero, just a new Druid hero, and say, none of the other classes are getting one. Like, this is very
No,
druid themed. Here's a druid hero. And that's where
I,
I think that might be the problem with heroes.
it starts too many Reddit threads of people
Yeah.
being like, "Well, I only like to play as rogue, so where's my rogue hero?"
It's like, well,
But
it's coming 6 expansions from now or something.
they gave everybody weapons, and half of them suck. So,
Yeah.
congratulations.
But I would say overall my favorite was Kobolds and Catacombs.
Yeah.
By the time Kobolds and Catacombs had come out, the Death Knights were really cool in terms of deck building, but I feel like Kobolds and Catacombs was the expansion of the year for deck builders, where it just gave you a lot of tools, and said, figure it out, see what you can do. And I've made some decks that I actually really enjoy playing, in Wild in particular, from that expansion. So by far my favorite. Plus Dungeon Run was really cool, and I hope they continue to add to it in the future. And it's not just going to be a one-off, hey, we did this cool thing this one time kind of feature. So
Yeah, Kobolds is awesome. So I'll say Kobolds.
all right, Hall of Fame cards you missed the most. I play Wild, so out of this list that's here, I would say Ragnaros is my favorite, and yeah, I still use him a lot, but
I guess when I think miss, my first thought is like, which card do I wish was still in Standard? But the reason they put these in Hall of Fame is because they're mostly overpowered.
None of them.
And so I would kind of pick the one that I feel like is the least overpowered, and that's probably Power Overwhelming. But now that everybody's running Doom Guards again, I mean, it's kind of dangerous.
Double Power Overwhelming.
Right.
That could be gross.
Ezra Drake is always a really solid card, but I don't think it's overpowered. I'd like to see that back in.
Yeah. I mean, as far as Standard goes, I don't miss any of these, but, I play Wild, so they're all still there. Most painful nerf. So we got Caverns Below, Naga Sea Witch, Dreadsteed, Spreading Cold.
Naga Sea Witch was nerfed?
Right? So not that one. Let's see.
I guess for me, it would be Raza. And, like, I'm not trying to be like, I liked Raza before it was cool. But I was running Raza in decks until people started running that, Rizakis deck. And then I couldn't, once everybody was playing Raza, then if I was playing Raza in my deck, well, my deck was just a worse version of whatever they were playing,
Yeah.
So I really liked Raza before. I wish it wouldn't have gotten nerfed, and that they wouldn't have made the stupid Hero Anduin where you can just do 20 damage to a person in one turn, or 30 damage, depending on how well you draw.
I think out of all these, if I was defining most painful as like which card got wrecked the hardest, I think Corridor Creeper or Fiery War Axe.
And then just like that video I showed you, Raynat was talking about Corridor Creeper. Like, it's not Corridor Creeper's fault. It's Patch's fault.
Yeah.
So that one was pretty sad. Innervate was pretty sad. Hex, like, I understand. I never understood why it was 3 mana.
A weird one.
Yeah. I mean, it was always pretty much the same as Polymorph, so I don't understand why it ever costed 3, but it's weird that they just, like, picked it out of the blue and like, oh yeah, we forgot. We meant to change this 2 years ago.
Yeah. Well, favorite card art from expansions, I'm not going to worry about that one. Most annoying deck to play against. Mill Rogue, Quest Mage, Freeze Mage, Kingsbag Rogue, Jade Druid, Quest Rogue, Murloc Paladin, Secret Mage. Other.
I think Jade Druid. Just because if a Jade Druid draws right, you literally can't beat them.
I think just because I'm so sick of seeing them. Like, it's one of the few decks that persisted through, like, dodged all the nerfs and just kept on going. And it's like, what the heck? How are you not nerfing the crap out of this? So, yeah,
right.
I'd say that's the most annoying because it's been around so long.
Yeah, when a new expansion comes out, it should change kind of the existing... that's why they do Hall of Fame, is so that people don't just keep playing the same decks expansion after expansion after expansion. Expansion after expansion came out, and it was just still there. It never went away because it was stronger than anything else that could have ever been built, instead of, like, different. And I'm not saying that it should be weaker than everything else, power creep, etc., but people should be incentivized to do other decks. But if it's just that much stronger, why?
Yep. Favorite quest? Well, mine's obvious. Warrior. Hands down. Thank you for bringing me a Taunt Warrior quest.
Favorite quest?
Is
is
it Paladin or Druid? Or am I totally off here?
Well, I only had Paladin and Druids, I think. No, I had Open the Waygate too, which I would do sometimes. But yeah, I think it was definitely Druid. Like, the Druid quest plus Ixalit is one of the most satisfying decks to play because once you get it off, I played against I'm going to tell a story here because it was really great for me. I was playing against this priest that was wrecking me through the entire game. And I was running out of time in the 11th hour, and the guy had, a board full of stuff, and I had 5 health or something. And I had just finished my quest. Okay, well, I played my quest, and then played Nourish, and I drew like Ixalit and the Lich King or something. So then I had 2 8/8s on the board. Then he like Psychic Screamed it, and then he started like doing stuff again. And then I played like Ultimate Infestation, and then I drew that 10 mana 7/7. Like refilled my mana. I was able to like use Earthen Scales to buff the hell out of my armor. And it just like once you get that quest off, like it just changes everything. And you can really come back from the point of no return and just blow people out of the water. And yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
my favorite.
Yep, and like I said, I mean, I just like the problem with trying to play Taunt Warrior before is like the issue with Hearthstone is you don't choose who defends, so they have to go through your taunts no matter what. So making stronger taunts seems good, but when there's no way to turn that around, because I played a deck in Magic the Gathering where I would put a bunch of defenders out and, they were all like couldn't attack and things like that. And then I had a card that I could play that would essentially like flip their health and let them attack. And so I had these big ass taunts or defenders on the board that I could block with if I wanted to. And then all of a sudden I'm swinging at you for like a ton of damage because I'm hitting with these defenders' health. But in Hearthstone, they have to go through your taunt. So buffing your taunt just means, okay, they get through it a little bit slower, but it's still dead. So what was the point of buffing it, if they got to go through it anyway? And having that taunt quest come out and say, no, when you play these taunts, all of a sudden you can click a button for 2 mana and do 8 damage to someone's face, and you get a weapon, and you've been protecting your health and everything. Really changed the game and allows you to have that moment like in the deck I played in Magic the Gathering, where all of a sudden you're the offense now. And I just really enjoyed that with that quest. So
I'm kind of surprised that like Confused Priest has never been a thing, which is basically like what you're talking about, And instead, everybody always runs the Divine Spirit Inner Fire combo. But if you built a big board of like 2 6s or something and then flipped it around, you could do a ton of burst damage.
Yeah, when I saw Confused, I was like, oh, you could do that. But it's the same problem where, a lot of creatures that have that kind of attack to health ratio have taunt. So you can't let them sit there and then all of a sudden go Confuse and then swing. But yeah, there's a possibility there. So. Or with the, it was actually not Confused. It was the new Elemental that came out in Kobolds and Catacombs.
Oh yeah,
which is everybody's. Yeah, so that's a cool deck that I want to keep in mind as we go forward. So
where did that go? Did the nerf to Fiery War Axe get rid of it or something? Because I saw it in tournaments and stuff for the longest time, and now just nobody plays it. What kicked it out of the meta?
Which one?
Taunt Warrior?
I think other things just got faster than it. I mean, yeah. And maybe Fiery War Axe? I'm not sure. I don't know why it slipped out of the meta, but it may just have not been able to outlast some of the other decks. So.
Okay.
Best Death Knight.
Best Death Knight. I like this. So, barring Shadow Reaper Anduin for single-handedly changing the entire meta, Let's see. I think this is so hard.
Yeah,
They're all so
there's
good.
some good ones. All
I
right, what
think
about least favorite? Do you have a least favorite Death Knight?
least favorite to play against or play as. To play against,
For
I
whatever
think.
reason.
Okay, my least favorite to play against was obviously Shadow Reaper, but excluding him just because he's stupid, I really don't like playing against Blood Reaver Gul'dan, because it's just tough to deal with.
Yeah.
He gets so many benefits. Frostlit Jaina, like I don't like playing against it, but I think it's really cool that like they can wait until really late game. I just played against a guy. He waited until like last turn, switched over to Jaina for the extra armor, and started like trying to get lifesteal and beat me in a fatigue match. I like Frostlit Jaina. It's annoying to play against because they have so many different ways of generating water elementals. So yeah, I would say those are my two least favorite to play against. My favorite to play as, I think Thrall's ability is really awesome. Um, but the unstable evolution
Yeah.
kind of
I was gonna
outclassed
say
that.
it's outshined by unstable evolution now, so
Right.
it's kind of sad.
Uh, yeah. Frostlit Shane is fun to play as. Malfurion, I feel like is just the most well-rounded, I guess. Deathstalker Rexar is really awesome, and I'm kind of sad that people are playing like I mean, you heard about the whole thing with the upcoming expansions where they were
Yeah.
like, well, it's just a lot of trouble to just keep translating all this stuff into different languages. And people are like, no, no, you have to do it. Like, I'm happy that they're doing it, but it's a lot of work that people are putting onto the Blizzard team just because of that.
Yeah.
So, Scourge Lord, I don't know, it's kind of underwhelming to me, but he works well in some decks. So,
Yeah,
you?
I like Blood Reaver Gul'dan, because I had always been just like wanting to play Demon Lock, and he basically made it possible
Mm-hmm.
to play a legit Demon Lock. So I enjoyed him. I didn't get to play Deathstalker Rexar. I wanted to. But the other one I really like is Valera, the Hollow. I play some weird rogue decks, and she gave me the ability to like double Leroy people in the face,
I completely forgot about her. Yeah, she's one of the best cards in the game.
double Healbot in Wild, like just
Or
so many good things you can double up on,
yeah,
especially in Wild.
and for me, a lot of times I can kind of decide when I want to switch over to Valera because if I'm playing like a more resource oriented game, then I want her really early so I can start out valuing my opponent. But if it's like something where I want a lot of burst damage really late, I can play her or I can play her defensively. Yeah, Valera has a lot of different applications. Really solid card.
I think Valera's my favorite that I played a lot of, and Gul'dan's a second. As far as playing against, once again, just ignoring Shadow Reaper Anduin, I really just think Frostledge Jaina is annoying to play against. Uh,
Uther's pretty annoying to play against too, just because of the two burglar bullies, where it's like you play one spell, you're screwed. I hate that.
yeah, I
Uh,
never played against him very much. Like, he doesn't get played in Wild that
yeah,
often,
it's
so.
it's pretty rare, but the last tournament I watched, the last HCT Hearthstone Championship Tour thing I watched, everybody brought a slow version of Paladin that had that in there. I guess it's a good counter to I think uh, Warlock
Hmm.
because you're not going to break through all of their 3/9s, so you can just set up your own like I'm going to win anyway kind of combo.
Yeah. Most OP legendary weapon.
Twig of the World Tree, right? Twig of the World Tree.
Uh, you know, I mean, is it Kingsbane?
I got into an argument with a guy on Reddit like a month ago about this because I I said in a vacuum it's the best weapon. Like I just don't think that you can argue that there's a better weapon than it is. And he said, "Well, it's not good in the current meta, so no, it sucks." But like I I think Skulls and Minari is the best right now, but once everybody starts teching weapon removal, which is happening more and more, it's not going to be that good, and then it's just going to be Kingsbane. So I say Kingsbane in general, probably the best. Alaneth's probably a second
Yeah,
place.
I played against some burn mages with Alaneth that just wrecked my face.
Yeah.
Because they don't care. They're just, yep, damage to face, damage to face, damage to face. Like,
And even if you get the weapon removal, it's still 3 cards they draw,
yeah.
and you're having to spend your mana to try to get rid of their weapon, so they don't care.
Yeah, and I do like, the other one I like is Valinir for Paladin.
I, yeah. It's complicated to use. Like I've used it a handful of times, and if you don't really know what you're doing, like you can get it messed with, like accidentally getting your Tyrion Ford Rings weapon to copy over it or something, vice versa. So it is a little bit tricky to use, but it is a really cool weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had somebody actually steal it from me recently. They like mind controlled Dominion it had landed on. Pretty clever.
Nice. And I'm just gonna skip class with the best new cards. I mean, that's such a broad question.
Yeah, it's pretty extensive.
So yeah, that's the Community Choice Awards. That's our opinion on the survey that they put out. Next up, we're going to talk about the rank changes. So basically, instead of the traditional ranked system, ranked is getting changed so that basically it will. The goal here was to keep people from getting pushed back so far into lower ranks at the start of each season so that the skill level spread would be a little better distributed so that a lot of the really skilled players that do very well will start closer to legend, and that way you won't have this influx of people who are super casual and people who are really hardcore kind of mixing in the tiers between 25 and 10 at the start of the season. And hopefully what this means is you'll be competing against people who are closer to your skill level or your current rank more often, instead of having that sporadic burst of you know playing against really competent players near the start of the season.
I just realized that they didn't set my rank right. I mean, I know they had that big thing where ranked players just screwed up, and I guess people's ranks just got changed up.
Well, they
But
handed out some extra stars, I believe.
yeah, I started at rank 11 this month with 5 stars, so I only had to win one match. And now I'm at rank 10, so I'm on the ranked floor. But I only got to rank 9 last one. So, so far it's working for me.
Yeah.
Is this something you even care about? Like, what with you only playing wild and not really competitively?
I mean, it still applies to Wild, and that is where I get my card back. So the changes that have been made is every rank before Legend now has 5 stars. With the end of the season, when the season ends, you drop down 4 ranks and keep the same amount of stars. So if you end at rank 4 with 3 stars, you'll drop down to 8 with 3 stars. The win streak keeps going, and the floors are still in place. So if you get to rank 19, you can't go lower than 20. If you get to 12, you can't go lower than 15. That kind of stuff. And now, instead of getting card backs by reaching rank 20, you now get them for winning 5 games in ranked mode, however long it takes you. Honestly, with the win streak mechanic, I think occasionally I was able to get to rank 20 without playing 5 games. This isn't a really big deal to me. I mean, winning 5 games in ranked is no problem.
Right.
And the ranked rewards still will be based on your highest rank for that season. That being said, like I said, Kobolds and Catacombs opened up a lot of deck building potential. And with this next rotation, I'm interested to see what happens to Standard. Obviously, Wild probably won't get shaken up too much just based on a rotation. The new expansion might do something. I don't know. I'd like to eventually get Legend. I just know it's a grind, and I don't know at what point I'm gonna have the decks that I'm like, yeah, I'll grind these decks because they are fun enough. So
I actually think this affects you a lot more than I thought it did at first. Just because when I really think about it, like whenever I play Wild, I'm like at rank 25 or something, and I'm playing against like legend level standard players that are just in Wild so they can win their 5 games or whatever for a quest or something,
yep.
and they're doing the same thing I'm doing. So I always end up playing against these really powerful people whenever I switch to Wild, and I'm trying to get an easy quest done. So it actually might be kind of bad in a sense. I don't know.
Well, it'll
For
be
me,
interesting in Wild, I think, because it's a smaller player base. So I'm kind of wondering. I don't ladder very often, so when I do to get a card back, it's really easy. I mean, my win percentage is pretty high in those lower ranks, and I just play enough to get the card back. I usually can just sit down and do it. But it would be interesting to see, how quickly I start encountering people with a little bit of a higher skill level. Just
hmm
because the player base for Wild is so much smaller, so I think
yeah,
it might if you might get hit in run into those strong decks a lot sooner. So
yeah. I know. I think it's going to make ranks between ranks 20 and 25 just completely unpalatable for Wild players. So you're gonna have to like get above that if you don't want to have to deal with those crazy standard players. Um, so far, all the games I've played, like I said, I'm playing Jade Rogue right now, and I think I'm like 3-1, which is pretty rare for that deck. So I think it's definitely already starting to have an effect. I'm winning more than I normally would at this point at rank 10. Um,
and I'll
got
I'll have
this
to jump in and at least get the card back for this month. So I'll see how it goes, whether I can get 5 in a row or how that works out. So
hmm But yeah, I'm excited because for me, I feel like it's a lot easier to be like, okay, well, this month I made rank 6, so next month I'll make rank 5. Next month I'll make rank 4. Whereas before it was like, okay, well, I'm rank 9 right now, so I'm going to get reset back to 18,
yeah.
and then I'm going to try to get to rank 8. So
I think
that'll
it
be
makes
that's
the floor ceilings a little bit more valuable, and I agree. I think having the reset go back for that might actually affect things. I mean, five star levels, so getting the 5 that only takes you up a rank. So
yeah.
yeah,
They want it to be slower to progress, but also slower to fall down. So
yeah.
I can deal with that.
Yeah, and I think that is part of the thing that might have prevented me from doing ladder anyway, is because it's of that whole, okay, if I'm going to get to 12 and get reset back to 23 or whatever the heck it is, I'm like, this makes it, okay, I got to 12, I'll get reset to 16. If I can, make up 10 ranks again this month, you can inch your way closer and closer to legendary over the span of several months instead of trying to like cram it all into one single month. So I like the change overall.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, and it's weird when you think like, well, why didn't they just do it like this from the beginning?
Yeah.
And to me, it always just seemed too simple to just set people back 4 ranks. Like that just seems like such a simple idea, but maybe it works. I don't know. We'll have to see.
All right, next we got the Wild Brawliseum. So this is similar to what was the name of the standard version?
The I don't remember. Super Arena Brawl Cup
Yeah. So this is
Heroic.
heroic. Yeah, heroic brawl or whatever. So this is the Wild Brawliseum. It's essentially a heroic brawl where you can use wild cards. So what you're going to be doing is you get a free entry to Brawliseum. You're going to build a deck using cards in your own collection. You're going to make a wild deck, or I mean, you could make a standard deck. You'll probably regret it. But and then it works like Arena. You're going to play games until you lose 3 based on the number of games that you won. You'll get a particular reward, and then if you want to play again, it'll cost you 150 gold to buy another ticket.
So it's terrible. I hate it. Like I know that sounds dumb, but I tried playing it. I played one round of it. I think I went 3-3. But it's just people playing their standard decks in arena. That's all it is. It's so annoying.
Yeah.
And I think at higher ranks, people are going to be doing kind of fusion decks. Like I saw a stream of Kibler casting Brood playing in it, and he was playing like Secret Paladin. I think the strongest decks will have some wild cards in it, but most people that are playing it are just standard players trying to profit off of their powerful standard decks. It's annoying.
Yeah, and we talked about this before when we were doing deck showcases, because a lot of time we test decks against each other, and there's an obvious disparity between the decks that you create for standard and the decks that I create for wild, because you're playing in a meta where it's go 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 go, everything is OP. Whereas when you get into the wild side of things, it seems like the tempo, the pace of the games drops down a little bit slower. People are trying to do more creative, interesting kind of combo-y things, and they're not so focused on, okay, I'm just going to shut you down as fast as possible and grind out these ranks to legend. So a lot of times, I've played against your standard decks with my wild decks, and I haven't done so well because, I get overrun by what your deck is trying to do. But when I take that same deck that I was playing and I go into wild, stomp people.
Right.
So there's a definite, pacing issue between the two formats.
Yeah.
So
My Jade Rogue, I had to completely reformat because I had all these cards in it that I really wanted, but I would just lose by turn 4. So I had to take out all of those cards, and I had to replace it with like Mistress of Mixtures and the little beetle, the 2-mana beetle thing. I had to put a bunch of those cards in there. So like my early game would be incredibly powerful, so I could just keep up, so I could stay alive until the later turns when my deck actually does what it's supposed to do.
And I think that's part of the reason that I enjoy Wild, is because you can have a theme for your deck. And yeah, you have to make some tweaks, but it doesn't feel like you're like ripping the soul out of your deck and putting in like, these are the OP standard cards that you have to play. And
Right.
that really bothers me just in general for deck building. So I think that is why I enjoy Wild, but I can definitely see what you're saying where this could turn into, or is, just people playing their really overpowered standard decks because
They
yeah,
can take advantage of people that are trying to do more creative things
right.
and make a profit off of it. Really, literally making a profit off of it. If they have a 70% win rate in Arena, they're going to end up making more money than they invest into it. And that's annoying.
Yeah. Well, I still have a free ticket, so I'll try it at some point and let you know what happens after
I
that.
did Dragon Paladin. That's pretty fun.
Yeah. All right, so next up, we're going to talk about our plans for the channel moving forward. So we did a couple of streams on my personal channel, and I think we both enjoyed what we were doing, so we decided to set up Smart Moves HS as its own channel, so that we could have a central place to do these casts at. And also, in case we wanted to expand out in the future, we'd already have the place to do it and the names and all that kind of good stuff. So we will be leading up into the next expansion. Like right now, we're gonna kind of take it easy, cover news. When the next expansion comes out and they start revealing cards, we'll be doing our card reviews, that kind of stuff. We're gonna do it as they come out every week, I think, or we'll break it up into chunks so it's a little more digestible than what we tried with Kobolds and Catacombs. And, leading up to the expansion, we'll talk about, the types of decks we want to make and that kind of stuff. And then once the expansion is out, we'll do our deck showcases, which is the main reason we started the channel in the first place.
So do you want to do pick a class for next week like we were before? Or?
Well,
Because
I think, in the interest of having a clean, fresh start, and since we do know the expansion announcements are going to be coming down the pipeline here pretty soon, we can just start fresh with the next expansion, the first expansion of 2018, and do our deck showcases and stuff.
Okay.
Then. So, And this was a little bit longer of a stream because we had all this stuff to talk about. But for yep,
I'd like to talk briefly about viewing because it's something I enjoy doing. Uh, yeah, so I'm a big fan of OmniStone, their videos, their players. I like all that stuff. And recently, both Zalay and Firebat have qualified to play in Copa America. So, and they're also in the same bracket. So, if they both win their first matches, they're going to be playing against each other, and that is something I am super excited to see. Um, I've also been watching Collegiate Championships, which is it's kind of fun because it's like I don't really like sports, but I think part of that's because I never played sports. Um, but like now, they're doing this collegiate championship thing where, if I could do it, if I could get a team together, I would do it too. But you can pick like a college from your local area if that's what you want, or a college you attended. You can follow them and watch them on stream. It's a lot of fun.
yeah,
And
they do something similar for Heroes of the Storm. It's like Heroes of the Dorm.
that's pretty good.
So
But it's also cool to see these people that are like professional Hearthstone players. They're college kids, but they play so bad. They're just trying to win that $5,000 scholarship fund, and they make so many mistakes. And if you really want to feel superior about playing Hearthstone, or if you want to learn something, listen to the casters make fun and say, "Well, I don't know why he did that on that turn." That's a lot of fun. So
we saw some of that in the Hearthstone World Championships this time around. There were a couple of why moments in there. So
yeah.
that was
The
fun to
HCT
watch.
championship, or the HCT Sydney stop, man, there was one guy who had this game won, and he let the other guy pulled a Deathwing off of a Netherspite Historian and played it, and the other guy should have won. He had a ton of cards in his hand. He could do all sorts of things to it, but he just froze, panicked, because it's Deathwing, I guess.
Yeah.
And he ended up losing this game from full health and a full hand of cards to Deathwing. It was a mess. So,
Yeah.
but anyways, yeah, there's some cool stuff coming in the upcoming season. If you want to watch that, Competitive Hearthstone subreddit always has a list of where you can see the different kinds of cool videos that are going to come out. So I am really excited to see them.
Yeah. Also, at some point, we're supposed to get these arena exclusive cards, right? That they talked about when they talked about Kobolds and Catacombs. So maybe that'll be happening before the next expansion.
I think so. What Broad talked about in one of the subreddit or one of the Reddit threads I saw was that they basically wait until right before reveal season to start doing that kind of stuff, because that's when the player base is at its lowest.
Yeah.
And they want to encourage people to play by adding some sort of new feature. They always have a festival or something that happens right before the next expansion comes out. I think that's when they're actually adding those in, is probably this month. They're going to throw those in there.
I hope so. So finally, before we leave, we wanted to take a moment and catch up with everybody and just talk about anything else we've been playing, or the types of decks we've been playing, or anything like that. Just a quick, what we're excited about in Hearthstone and outside of Hearthstone. So
I have taken the plunge into playing in I think it's a meta deck. It's technically a meta deck, and I feel really dirty about it, but I'm playing Spell Hunter, but it's I don't feel terrible about it just because it's there are a lot of different secrets that you can kind of swap in and swap out.
mm-hmm.
And so even though it is still a Spell Hunter centered around spells, you can kind of have your own individual flavor of Spell Hunter. So it's a way I can kind of justify playing this meta deck, and it does really, really well against everything except for Q-Block. So I'm having a lot of fun with that, and Jade Rogue is awesome. One of the most, I want to say, I don't want to, it's not underpowered, but underutilized cards, is that 4-mana 3/3 Death Rattle. Summon a 1/1 copy of a card from your hand. Really fantastic for Jade Rogue. You can pull out Aya, one of my favorite things to do is to pull out Zoth with that, and then like play Sonya Shadow Dancer. Get a copy of Zoth back in my hand that costs 1 mana. Fantastic. There are all kinds of cool little tricky rogue things you can do with all the new cards that came out in Cobalt and Catacombs. So, what about you?
I've just been trying to get my daily quest done. I've been busy with real life stuff, but in the meantime, I've been playing some non-Hearthstone games. I was on a Slay the Spire kick for quite a while before it blew up everywhere, and like everybody was playing it all of a sudden. So I was playing that, and I think about the time it blew up was about the time that I had like unlocked everything and was just kind of like, well, what's the next update gonna bring? But that's a really awesome turn-based deck building roguelike game. I picked up a few co-op games that I've been trying out, like local co-op stuff. I just got Warhammer Vermintide 2, which is a first-person cooperative, difficult kind of RPG where you go around and you just beat up rats and chaos warriors. And this past Tuesday, I picked up Into the Breach, which is a game by the makers of FTL, which was a really popular roguelike that came out a few years ago. And this is also a roguelike, but it's turn-based tactical strategy roguelike where you have mechs, and it's just really, really interesting so far, and surprisingly nuanced for how simple it seems at first glance. So I've been doing that and just kind of waiting on this next expansion announcement. So
Borderlands 3. I follow Elon Musk on Twitter, and I saw I think it was Dan Hellquist, like the lead whatever guy on Borderlands, was talking about how he wanted to have him in the next Borderlands game. And I'm just thinking, are you guys really not even done with your content yet? Come on.
Yeah.
Borderlands 3, when is it going to come out?
I know, I keep eyeballing Shadow Warrior 2, like maybe I'll play that as like a pseudo Borderlands until the third one comes out, but let's
the
hope
best game I'm
Borderlands
never going to get to
3
play.
is like Borderlands 2 and not like the pre-sequel.
I feel like the pre-sequel, the biggest problem with it is it didn't have enough content.
Wow.
Like, there were only like 10 different kinds of enemies, and most of them were just based on the Borderlands 2 enemies. I feel like if it's taken this long to make, it's got to be better.
I think the problem with the pre-sequel for me was I had put 600 hours into Borderlands 2, so by the time the prequel came out, I was like, yeah, this is the same shit I've been playing for 600 hours, but not
More or
nearly
less,
as
there was
good.
only like one raid boss. The expansions weren't even really expansions, except for one of them. It was just a bunch of, like, I don't know, like crayon drawings compared to the rest of it.
Oh yeah.
It was just bad.
All right. Well, I think that will just about do it for the stream. Thanks for anyone who is watching on YouTube, probably.
Armored Core. Needs to be another Armored Core.
There's
right?
BattleTech. Check out BattleTech.
I think there's some game that Mount, our mutual friend Mount, plays a lot. It's called like what, Warframe, Battleframe, or something. Is that like Armored Core?
Not Warframe is like Space Ninjas, but there's a different one. I can't think of the name of it. But anyway, that'll do it for the stream. We should be back next week for another like news and updates video, unless there's an expansion announcement or something crazy coming out. So thanks for joining us, whether it was on Twitch or it is on YouTube, and we will see you next time.
Bye, everybody.